Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. Give me 1 second. I'll make sure that everything is live and the way it's supposed to be. Okay. All right. Okay. So, welcome to my live. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sasha Figueroa. I am the CEO of Figueroa Virtual Services. I am an operations manager, an online manager. I have quite a few different titles. They're all the same thing. It's just depending on the company, what people use, what title they use. But all in all, an online manager, an online business manager, an operations manager. That's usually the way it goes. I do work with service providers and course creators to take control of their business, to actually get out of that employee role and step into the CEO role like they're supposed to. That's the whole point of having your own business. So I work with them to get everything organized, to take back their time, to manage their teams, their metrics, projects, things like that. So welcome to the live today. Today's live is about, I'm going to talk about 9 ways to improve your efficiency. Now, this is kind of a double training, for the simple fact that it's not only going to tell you how to improve your efficiency, but it's also going to tell you how to improve mainly a team's proficiency. So if you have a team, whether it's one person, 5 people, however large your team is, this will help you with the efficiency of projects, tasks, time management, things like that. Mainly meetings. The main topic or area that we're going to talk about today is really how to keep meetings and the need for meetings efficient, and to have meetings only when you really need them. So I'm actually just going to get right into it. If you are here live, definitely let me know that you're here. Say hello in the comments. If you are watching this on a replay, just put hashtag replay when you watch it. Any questions you have, don't hesitate to write them in. I will either answer them if you're live, or later on when I come back and do a watch party later in the day. I could take some time and answer them at that point. Or you can even direct message me depending on where you're watching this. So let's get right into it. Okay. So like I said, 9 ways to improve your efficiency. Again, you yourself as well as team efficiency. So number 1 is going to be to eliminate unnecessary meetings, like I said when I was talking about it, whether you need them, whether you don't need them. So I'm going to start out with a quote that I have here by Dave Barry. It says, if you had to identify in one word the reason why the human race has not achieved and never will achieve its full potential, that word would be meetings. I don't, if you're in the corporate world or if you've come from the corporate world, meetings could take up so much time. There's a meeting here, is a meeting there. Sometimes you're in a meeting and you realize, why am I even in this meeting? It has nothing to do with me. So, that takes up a lot of time. Good morning, Megan. So you want to make sure that, the meeting is even necessary. So you want to eliminate unnecessary meetings. So one of the easiest ways to improve a team's efficiency, and even your own, is to get rid of those unnecessary meetings. And I know it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but it really is that simple. You really want to be on top of that. So it's not saying that meetings are bad, because meetings are very important, but you want to get rid of the unnecessary ones. So you want to make sure that a meeting can be productive. You want it to provide you want to have a clear agenda of what your meeting is actually going to involve. You want to make sure that the right people are attending the meeting, and you want to make sure that before the meeting even happens, everybody is prepared to contribute to the solution the whole reason you're having the meeting. You don't want to have them just because you have to have a meeting or you think you have to have a meeting. You want to make sure that there's a purpose for them. Just to give you an example, I started out on one of my business partners. We started out on daily meetings. Monday through Friday, we had a daily huddle, and at first that was needed. The team was getting to know each other. We were starting to work together on a larger scale. So having a daily meeting was a very important thing. But then as systems got put in place, as everybody started to learn the way of doing things, they started to learn with their role, their responsibility, the ownership started to build. We have actually recently gone down to 2 meetings a week, which we are on the track now to eventually getting it to be 1 meeting a week. And the reason why we can do that, I'll go over within this training. I'll tell you exactly the reason why that's able to be done is because of the things that we put in place on the front end and even on the back end. So you want to make sure, just to reiterate, excuse me, you want to make sure that the meeting is actually necessary. So how can you tell if a meeting is actually important? Well, before scheduling a meeting, you want to ask yourself, obviously, is it necessary? Just plain old black and white question. Is it necessary? Sometimes, we like to default to scheduling a meeting when another form of communication honestly could be more effective. So as an example, if you're scheduling a meeting just to share an update, honestly, you could probably just put an update in one of your digital communication platforms, whether it be Slack, Voxer, just a quick text. If you and your team members text each other, you could just use a text message. Not everything has to be a meeting. One good example that I was actually taught with Slack is you want to think of Slack, which is a communication program. You want to think of it like the hallway or the water fountain at work. Say you're in a corporate job. So you go to the water fountain, you're there for a quick little second just to get a drink, or you're passing each other in the hallway and you want to give a quick little update and then keep it moving. That's all. So if you want to have an update that's that easy that you can just communicate that fast, you don't need a meeting. Just use something like Slack or even text messaging or something like that instead of a meeting. So that's how just say, is it something that I could say in a text message, or do we have to say it, do we have to have a one-on-one? Do we have to see each other? Is there more explanation that's needed? If it's just a simple update, just send it through message of some sort, communication program or text message. Okay, so let's talk about alternatives to meetings. I kind of already did, but I'm going to go a little bit more. So say you want to give somebody an update for a project that you're working on. If you have everything set up properly and you have, even if it's one other person on the team and you're working on a project, you should have some kind of system set up to actually manage and track that project. So one that I use that I absolutely love is Asana. And in Asana, you can actually give updates on projects. You can comment on projects. You can comment on a specific task in the project, or you can comment on the project as a whole. So if I just want to update somebody on a project or a topic that is associated with that project, I just update it in there, and then you can tag them in it and say, hey, this is just some updated information. We don't have to have a meeting. So you really got to think about alternatives. Instead of having a meeting, what can you do? And then another way is instead of meeting for, say, a team brainstorm, maybe write up the brainstorm, write up your ideas, and then send it to everybody. Let everybody review it. And then maybe after that, you can come up with a meeting, to kind of go over it. But you don't want to spend time going over the topics and then getting opinion, because that's an extended meeting. If you can send everybody we'll say vision board, you can send everybody your goals and what you want to talk about in advance. Then when you come for the meeting, everybody's they're more on the same page, so you can prep at the beginning. Hey, Therese, welcome. Therese, I would love if you want to give any input as a VA, and actually Megan, you too. Megan is actually our in-house virtual assistant. She's really an executive VA. She does a lot of, she controls a lot of the moving parts that you guys see within the groups and a lot of the back end stuff that you don't see. So she's very important to the company. And Charisse is actually a VA that I work with, that I work with her and we work with clients together. So she's the VA for clients and I'm the OBM for clients. So in turn, both of them actually are team members. So that's pretty cool. So if you guys want to add a tip in here, that would be awesome. What's something that you find is more efficient to do than setting up a full meeting? So if you want to add anything, I would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. Now, number 2. So number 1 is eliminate the unnecessary meetings. So number 2 is going to be improve meeting efficiency. So you've decided, okay, this is something that we actually need a meeting for. Now we want to make sure that we're using our time wisely in the meeting. So some meetings are very important, and the teams can get great work done by when they meet together. Some of them can take up a lot of time, but no matter what type of meeting you're planning, there are some ways that you can actually make them more actionable, productive, and even effective. So number 1, hold on one second. Number 1, you want to create and share an agenda before the meeting. So I'll give you another example. Q4 just started. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in the business world, you know that when the quarters switch, you really want to pay attention to what you're going to be doing in the new quarter. You want to kind of just talk about what was done in the last quarter that you want to update. Maybe you want to change something, what worked, what didn't work, things like that. So before you actually have that Q4 meeting, I had a Q4 meeting with a business partner of mine. We had a Q4 meeting. It was already set up to be an extended time. But even with knowing in advance that it was going to be a long meeting, we still wanted to have structure. So before we actually had our Q4 meeting, we actually, for I would say about a week and a half, 2 weeks, we had a shared channel inside Slack, and everybody put what they wanted to talk about on that Q4 meeting. And you could just add to it as the days went on. And then as we got closer to it, myself and the CEO of the company made up an agenda. And that way, when we actually had our Q4 meeting, even though we knew that it was going to be a long meeting because it was what we were talking about for the whole quarter, we still had structure and we still had direction. And then that helped us stay on task. It helped us stay on time. And honestly, it could have been a lot longer than what it was because we are all friends. So with that, we tend to, talk side talks, conversations about personal life and things like that. So you can kind of get sidetracked. So having an agenda is very important for that. Okay, so the second way that you can actually improve meeting efficiency, the specific for this specific task, is you want to align your meeting conventions. Again, that agenda is very important. So we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page on why we're having the meeting. What is the end goal for the meeting? What is everybody expecting to get out of it? Things like that. You want to make sure that we are all aligned with that. So that way we're not talking about things that have nothing to do with the reason we're having the meeting in the first place. Another one is you want to take actionable notes. And what that means is actionable notes. That's the key word here, actionable. So you want to have the meeting, you want to have the conversation, and now you have to figure out, based on what you're trying to accomplish, what has to be actually done. Okay, we're not just taking random notes. Okay, so-and-so said this, so-and-so wants to do this. This is the goal. Awesome. But now we have to actually write the steps to accomplish that goal. So that way, the meeting is not for nothing. You're not having to have extra meetings after the fact to say, hey, what actually are we doing to accomplish that goal? You talk about it during that time you've set aside, and that way you're not having to waste more time on the end. Another one is you want to collect feedback to increase productivity. This is something that's very big. Just because you are the manager, the CEO, you have to ask your team for input and feedback. You have to. If you don't, it's going to hurt more than it's going to help. So what does that mean? If we're having a meeting and I say, like today, before I actually did this live, I asked a team member, a team of a business partner that I work with, hey guys, what do you see that we do that you think is very beneficial that I should share with my network? What do you see that we do that you don't think we should keep doing, or that you're glad we changed? And I got feedback, and you have to be willing to actually take that feedback and either make the changes or address them in some way. So you have to ask your team for feedback. I see, good morning, my daughter. I see somebody on here, but I can't see who it is that's saying it. So if you are on here, write your name. This could be 4 different people. So whoever this is, just write your name in the comments, because it's not showing you. You see here, it's not showing your name, so I can't address it. Okay, so let's move on. Number 3 is you want to prioritize work based on key results. So what does that mean? I'm giving you a second to see. Maybe you guys have some questions, or maybe you have an answer. If you know what this means, write it in the comments. Prioritize work based on key results. What do you think are some key results that you're trying to accomplish in a meeting? Give me some examples that if you were hosting a meeting, what would be a key result that you think the meeting would be used for? So on any given day, each of your team members, or even remember this, I'm saying team members and meetings and things like that, but this can go for you as well. If you are spending time doing tasks, change the word meeting to task. So again, just to reiterate before, the last one was improve meeting efficiency, improve work efficiency, improve your task time, the time you're spending on a task. That can still go, even if it's not a meeting. Even if you're a solopreneur, this can still go for you. So on any given day, each of your team members, they may have, I'll say, like 10 different tasks that they're working on, whether it be for your company, or it could be for other companies that they're working on, or it can be for their own company. So everybody has a lot of things going on. So in that moment, each one of them, they seem, those tasks seem important and urgent. Where should they start? What can wait? So prioritizing work based on the key results that you're trying to accomplish is very important for if you're a solopreneur, or if you are within a company and you're a team, you're part of a team, or you're managing a team. So if we have an end goal, we'll just use something simple. If the end goal is to get, we'll say 1,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, you shouldn't be doing anything unless it's like a day-to-day task that has to be done, like, an upkeep. But as far as a project is concerned, you shouldn't be doing anything if that's the project you're working on that doesn't connect to the accomplishment of that 1,000 subscribers. So you have to really think, and this can be an issue, not an issue, but it can come up with the best teams, the most organized teams. It can still pop up where you're supposed to be looking at, taking care of tasks that are assigned to a specific goal, and you can get sidetracked. It happens. But if you have everything written out and you have it planned out and all that stuff, that helps you get back on track to say, is what I'm doing right now, does that pertain, or does that help, or is that help, going towards the goal of getting those 1,000 subscribers on YouTube? And in order to know whether what you're doing and what you're talking about in a meeting is important, you have to know what you're trying to accomplish. So, they want to know, you would say people want to know, where should they devote the bulk of their time, their brain power, to do their best work, things like that. So the best way to do that is to know what you're trying to accomplish. Let me see the comments real quick. If you guys have any comments, please don't hesitate, or questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Or if you have any input, I would definitely love to hear what everybody has to say. Okay. Let's see. I have my notes, so I want to stay on track. See, I even have my notes. Okay. I already went over that. All right, let's move on to the next one. Number 4, delete, defer, delegate, or diminish low priority work. What does that mean? I mean, you can understand what the words mean for the most part, delete, defer, delegate, and diminish, the 4 Ds of task management, you know. So, delete. Is this something that that needs to be done? Is this something that, is somebody just wasting time on it just because they want to do it, or is it actually supporting the goal? Um, defer. Defer is it's important. It is a task that we need to accomplish, but not right now. Or it's something that we're trying to accomplish. We talked about, anybody that's creative, you have that moment where you're like, I want to do this, and that's great. But you got to focus on a one project. And if that one project that you're focusing on, a task doesn't go to that one project, you still need to do that task, but not just right now. So you want to defer it and then delegate it. Is this something that has to be done, or it is something that you have to do? Or is it something that somebody else can take care of? Does somebody have a little bit more time on their hands, or somebody have tasks that are going to be finished fast that you could delegate something else to them and get it off of your plate, which because you're already, you're swamped. And then diminish obviously is just what it sounds like. You diminish the task, break it down a little bit more, maybe that task can be split up even more and make it smaller things to do that can be done a lot faster. So, you can improve your team's efficiency on a team or on an online business, on even inside the office. But my specialty is online and virtual and digital. So you can actually improve efficiency, and by having everything structured, you can actually improve the feeling of your team members, the morale of the team, and making sure people want to actually do the things that you're asking of them, and because they feel like it's not scattered and they're not stressed, and you're not giving them stress, but yet you're giving them structure, and that might help them with their mood, which in turn makes them want to actually do more things with you. It just makes a wonderful atmosphere. And one thing that I see a lot of people do is they feel like when it's a virtual team, that team morale, that happy feeling, that connection, they don't put so much time into it because it's a virtual team. They're not face to face, but it is very important. It is very, very important. So, you want to, just to kind of build off of the principle of kind of what we talked about before, a project, you want to make sure that your project or task that you're doing supports the overall goal of the company, the project that you're working on. Let me see the comments. Okay, you guys are awfully quiet today. No big deal. Let's move on. Okay, so how can I get started with workload management? So, say you are a solopreneur, or you are thinking about, you say you are a VA and you're looking to potentially get into a more management position within a team, or you just want to take the lead. And like I said, or this is just something for you specifically that you want to do. Workload management is, I absolutely like, that's my space right there. I really adore it. I'm really good at it. I build on my skills. I make sure that what I'm doing is always building into the whole management spot. So it's very important to me and to my company. So workload management, it's how things get distributed and manage work across your team, or even we'll say you're a solopreneur, we'll say across your day. Okay. My son's gonna read something in school, so he told me to shh.
I was trying to
I told him that if he had something to read in class, to put his hands up to tell me that he's got to read something, because I'm on live and I don't want to interrupt his school. So what does he do? He puts his hand up and I think he's going to read something. And he's like, no, I'm just fixing my bracelet.
I'm sorry.
Anyways, let's continue. So, to get started with the workload management, you first need insight into your team's workload and capacity. So, again, if you're a solopreneur, you need to look into your capacity. What can you do? How many hours? We all have the same amount of hours, but if you have a team, things get spread out. But if you're a solopreneur, you really have to pay attention and be honest to how much time you have, how much energy you have, and the capacity to actually take care of whatever you need to take care of. So once that you've put that together, you put a full list of all the tasks and the work your team is responsible for, which is so important. And you might feel like it takes a long time, but really just whether you watch a show while you're doing it, whether you're listening to music, whether you're say your kids take your young kids taking a bath, sit on the toilet while you're sitting there and start writing things out, not literally on the toilet, that's gross. But I mean like like you're sitting on the toilet while they're in the bath and you just start writing things out. It doesn't have to be nothing extravagant. Just take the time to do it. So once you put that together, you put a full list of all the tasks and your work that your team is responsible for, that you are responsible for. You want to actually allocate resources based on the team's capacity or your own capacity. With that, you want to make sure that you can adjust the workload on what has to be done, what's needed, and what doesn't have to happen right now to prevent burnout and boredom. Because both burnout and boredom, they are such killers of productivity because you lose motivation, you're bored, you need a change of scenery, you can't focus. I mean, I can't be the only one that's literally stared at the computer screen and you know what you have to do, but for some reason you're staring at it and you're like, what was I doing? Or like you scroll the same page multiple times and you're confused. What was I even doing here? And that's because you need to change the scenery. Your brain is burnt out, or you're just bored, which that can happen. And I know it's work or it's your company, but sometimes you need to get up and walk around and stuff like that. So this is important to make sure that this is together. So when you guys do get together as a team for a meeting, this is not something that's becoming an issue. It's not all over the place. People are not staring off doing nothing because you're just rambling and things like that. So it's very important. Okay. Number 5. Leverage your team strength when assigning work. What does that mean? Okay. So if someone is really good at tasks, we'll say Google Sheets. Somebody is really good at making, Excel or Google Sheets. So you're not, and then there's somebody else who maybe is so bad at Excel, they don't understand it. That's just not their thing. You're not going to give the project that involves having to create a Google Sheet or an Excel to the person that's not good at it. Now, even if that's not their responsibility, the person that is good at it, speak to them. Say, hey, I need this made or I need this created. Can you make it happen? And if that's their zone of genius, they're going to make it happen. And a good team member, not saying take advantage of them because that's very bad, but even if it's not in their initial job description, ask, see if it's something that they can do or something that they're willing to do, or maybe they learned it and you're saying, okay, I need you to take over this task. Can you do that? You never know. So you want to make sure that you're leveraging the team's strengths when you're assigning certain tasks. You want to make sure that the people that are good at this do this, the people that are good at this do this. So if somebody's good at graphics, you're not going to give them stuff that the person who's good at managing systems is good at. You're not going to switch like that because that's not their strength. So you want to be honest and ask people, say, hey, what do you like to do? What are you good at? What are you not good at? Ask them. They'll tell you. Hey, Shanta. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Number 6, map out your team's work before you begin. That kind of goes in with the agenda before a meeting. So when you're mapping out the team's work, once you know what needs to be done and who will do it, it's time to then make a plan of action for the team to follow. So having a well thought out plan that's been clearly mapped out from the beginning, to the goal, it can actually eliminate the additional work about work. So what does that mean is basically having to have on useless team meetings and useless conversations to talk about the stuff that you just talked about, what you have to do. You see what I'm saying? If everything is laid out, communication is done, there's not that extra need for random conversations or random meetings. Hey, Mom. Are you the one that commented above, good morning, my daughter, or is that somebody else? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay, so to start, you want to make sure that each of your team's projects have a clear plan. So, yes, Therese, things go way faster. So you want to make sure that each one of your team's projects has a clear plan. The time that you take at the beginning to do that is very important. Just take the time to do it, and then everything will flow better at the end. Planning out a project from the start, it ensures that the realistic timelines are there, that they're in place, that the project milestones are known all the way from beginning to completion. So if you know that it takes 5 steps to get to halfway point of a project, write those 5 steps out. So then when you get to the halfway point, you can kind of do an update and say, hey, we're halfway through the project. We are ahead of schedule. Let's keep going, blah, blah, blah. It's a very important part of, completing a task. To give you an example, I really like using recipes to explain what SOPs are. So when it comes to, writing out a plan, when you're making certain things in the recipe or in the instructions, it'll tell you, hey, it takes 25 minutes to cook this. But some of them say at 15-minute mark, take it out, rotate, things like that. That right there is that's your halfway point. That is your milestone for cooking that specific thing. That tells you that as long as at that halfway point, you are able to do what it tells you to do, you're on track. And now if you open up the oven and it tells you at this point, when you're turning your pie or whatever, I don't bake very often, but when you're turning your thing, it should be this way. If it's not this way, guess what? You're not on track. Something is off. And the only way to know that is if doing those milestones and having it written out that at this milestone, this is what it should be like. Oh, Smiley. Okay. That makes sense. Now that you said that actually, good morning, my daughter, that actually sounds like her. Okay. One thing that you want to remember is that each person needs to know what they're responsible for, what they're trying to complete, what piece of the puzzle is for them. They need to have a 360 insight on what's going on and what they have to complete so that they know what they're working for, what they're working on, and what the end result is. So just to give you a little side information, I want to give you 7 essential elements of a project plan. And so that way, when you're having your meeting, you think when you're planning it out and you're having the conversation with your team, you kind of pay attention to these. So the 7 parts of a project plan and what you're trying to accomplish, and this will be helpful if you are trying to make your agenda. Number 1 is your goals. Number 2 is your metrics. Number 3 is the stakeholders and the roles. So basically, who's going to do what, who's involved, things like that. Number 4, if this is a one-off project and it has a budget, you want to know the budget. A budget doesn't have to only be money. It could be Christian.
Sure.
It could be also time budget, deadline. Number 5, milestones and deliverables. What do you have to have by when? What has to be created to accomplish this goal? Number 6 is the timeline and schedule, which I said if you don't have a budget, you can make that one of the main ones. And then the number 7 is the communication plan. How are you guys going to communicate? Who's going to, what program are you going to use, whether it be Slack, text messaging, things like that. You want to know that at the beginning so that way everybody's on the same page. Communication is very important. I know I'm saying like a bunch of other things, but if you have nothing else, communication is what you need. Okay. Number 7, encourage cross-function collaboration. So what does that mean? Just because somebody was hired to do A, B, and C, and another person is hired to do, D, E, and F, sometimes those people can actually work together. Not sometimes, a lot of times you want those people to work together. They need to collaborate with something. So if there's something that me and another team member would be able to accomplish easily, you want to encourage those two team members to work together outside of the main team. Encourage them to work together, behind the scenes. And just because we're not on a meeting doesn't mean you guys can't collab with each other on the back end. So that's very important to encourage. Number 8, promote full days without meetings. So that's a big deal. And sometimes you cannot accomplish that at the beginning, but attending meetings, it could really disrupt the flow of productivity. It can make it harder to get like in your zone, to get the juices flowing and to keep it going. It makes it very hard when you're having to get interrupted with meetings or questions and things like that. I'll give you an example for day-to-day life. I'm having to work on my schedule now because I have 2 kids that are home doing homeschool with everything that's going on. Now, my son, for the most part, he handles everything by himself. He's on point with everything. He's got all straight A's. He knows what he's doing. He's in 7th grade. My daughter is in 2nd grade, so she obviously needs more hands-on. Now, a lot of times she can actually keep things going quite a bit, but if she gets bored, if I'm working on something and she's sitting right next to me when she's doing her work, but there's times where I'm doing something and next thing I know, I look up or look to the left and she's gone. Like just doing something. And I find her either playing with her toys or watching something TV. She just stopped school altogether. So me having to stop I could be in the mix of something and me having to stop to go find where she's at, to tell her she's got to get back to her classes. She's got to get back to her work, get her back on track. Then I have to sit down and get myself back into that zone. It could really mess up productivity. So what I had to do recently is actually do a whole schedule change. So that way that doesn't happen. And now I mark out not only tasks that I have to do, but how much time I'm going to spend on a project every day. So there could be a project that could take a week to do, but every day I map out, okay, this is what I have to do. I'm going to spend an hour this day, and I map it all out. And if I wouldn't have done that, I would be stuck in that whole starting again. And that is not that doesn't promote productivity at all. So yeah, just a little story time. So the last one that we're going to go over is define the purpose of different communication channels. This is a very big one, and I'm glad that we're ending on this. There are so many different products, so many different apps out there. There's Slack, Voxer, email, there's Asana, there's, oh my goodness, there's phone, there's text, there's ClickUp, there's, I don't know, there's so many. Now, if the team, when you're bringing a team together, say you have 5 different people on a team. Each one of those team members has 5 apps that they like to use. They are their go-to items. Now you're coming together as a team. So then you have now, say there's 4 people on the team. We'll say it's 4 people. There's 20 different apps. Now, hopefully some of those apps are the same. So that's good. This person uses Asana. This person uses Asana. Okay, great. The CEO likes Asana. That's what we're going to use. This person uses text message only. This person uses email only. This person uses Slack. This person uses Voxer. Okay, so what are we going to do? So what you have to do is you have to define the purpose of the different communication channels. I'll give you an example. When we're updating a project or something that is associated with a task that somebody's doing, they update it in the project management, which in our case is Asana. Now, if they're looking for approval for something, you really have to go with what the person that they're looking for approval from, as far as a task is concerned, what they enjoy using that you as a team use. So, just to give an example, we use Slack a lot. And Slack, like I said, is a main communication. So if there's something that we have to attach to it, some kind of form, some kind of link, some kind of graphic, we actually have it set up in Slack that you put it in there and you tag the person in it and you ask for, hey, can you review this and let me know what you think about it, blah, blah, blah. So then that person will go into Asana or whatever, and they'll actually update it. Hey, waiting for review. Once it's reviewed and approved, this will be done. So everybody knows what's going on. But you have to assign all that stuff in the beginning so everybody knows what communication channel is for what. Now, when it comes to Voxer, if we just want to send a quick message, we just, it's kind of like a group text. Or if you guys remember Boost Mobile, Voxer is like that. You hit the button, it's like a walkie-talkie, you leave a quick little message and you keep moving. That's what Voxer is for. So we know, depending on what it is that we're trying to accomplish out of the communication, we know what channel to use. And that's because we have set time. And it wasn't like that all the time. We have set time aside to actually say, okay, what do you like? What do you like? What works? What doesn't work? So it's very important to define the purpose of those different communication channels from the beginning. And it can take some time. You could think that something is going to be perfect for you guys, and then you start trying it out and it doesn't work, and that's fine. Switch it up, but switch it up quickly and then try it out again and make sure everybody's on the same page. Don't switch it up too much though. Try something, switch it up, try something new, and then try to come up with a final thing that you're going to use for an extended time, because that switch up also, as much as you want to find the perfect item, that switch up could actually mess up productivity as well. So that's the nine ways to improve efficiency. Hopefully this helps somebody today. If you're, again, watching this live, thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching this on a replay, just put #replay. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments, and I will get to them as soon as I can, or somebody on my team will get to them. And we'll just go from there. So thank you again for joining us. If you guys are interested, I'm actually going to put in the comments our free business group. If you're some of you will be watching this already in the free group or even in our paid membership. I will put the link for the free group in the comments. And if you guys want to get in, just put a request to come in and we will get you on in. This is for entrepreneurs and business owners only. So if those do not pertain to you, do not request, because you won't get anything out of the group. Thank you guys and have a wonderful day. It's taking forever to end. You guys are going to have to sit here and look at me. It's still going. It's still going. Awkward.